How's it going, ScrubGamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and for this one we're jumping in with the next part of my understanding how to build series, and that's the updated part where we go over some of the leaders from older sets to kind of see if they got a boost from the recent one and kind of see where we're at now. So for this installment we are going over the Emperor Palpatine leads, so not the Chancellor one from the third set. We're going over Emperor Palpatine all the way back to set 1 and going to go over and see like where he's benefited and like kind of update it for us. So just remember, if you're interested, then keep watching. And also don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to keep updated with my channel. And also remember that you can click on the notification bell to get alerts for when my videos do drop, so you can watch them there and then, or at a later time that benefits you. Now that we've got all that out of the way, let's go help you understand more of an updated build of Emperor Palpatine. So we're going to start off with the leader, because just in case you're newer to the game, or you might have forgotten, we got Emperor Palpatine here, so he's like one of the leaders from this first set, one of the rare ones, the dark side of, or the command and villainy one from the set 1. And he's got a really nice effect, because it's all about defeating things and also taking control as well. So he's really cool. He's one of the latest deploying, so the nice thing about this is you're gonna play him more controlling, because he's a very late deploy at 8 resources, I think the latest in the game. But if you can wait to hold off on him, he has a very good deploy turn, because he can take control on your opponent's units, essentially. Because he's an 8 deploy leader, so he deploys at 8, but luckily he's in the aspects where you can ramp as well, so you can ramp him up to get him out earlier, which is really nice. It comes with that built in, so you don't have to add a green base to your lead to do it. You can if you want to, but you've got that built in. Now when he comes down, he's got some solid stats at 4 power, which is respectable, and in 10 health, which is huge, only beaten by Jabba. And also, while he's deployed, well, no, not deployed, but he's got an effect that's on both sides, where he defeats your own units, and then basically draws a card, so he's basically going through your deck a little bit quicker, and also dealing damage is set up for his deploy. Because when he does deploy, he's got an effect where when deployed, he can take control of a damaged non-leader unit, so one of your opponent's units that has damage, take control of it. And the nice thing about that effect he's got on both sides is he's got it to use to kind of ping damage on your opponent's units to make sure you can go ahead and take control of them. So if your opponent's got nothing on board that's damage, you can always go ahead and try and ping damage on something, so you can then take control of it. That's the nice thing about his deploy, is the deploy literally steals something from you, and also deploys this leader that's very bulky, and then also makes use of some of the cards that can take control of your opponent's cards by killing them off after taking them away from you, and then making sure you don't get them back, because most of the cards either have a kind of, you got like Change of Heart, which allows you to take control of your opponent's units, but a high cost of 6, but then you have to get it back, but this can make sure you don't get it back by them defeating it with the Emperor. And you got even things like Traitors, and you take smaller things, not everything, but like smaller things for a cost of less, and while that won't give it back, you can still then kill it off after using it, which is nice. A nice thing about that effect is it draws his cards as well, so it's giving you more cards to kind of use, keeping that in the loop, and is a way to kind of trigger one of your ramp cards be Super Laser Technician, because that allows you to, that's a card where when defeated ramps to your resources, and unless you're attacking into it, into something, you're not really going to kind of trigger that normally. And if your opponent doesn't put anything in the same arena, but in the ground arena, then you're going to have a hard time triggering that. But luckily Palpatine has a way to trigger himself, which is very, very cool. It's not only that, ramping up, but then mitigates its effect by costing 1 on the leader side, by then ramping up because you get the resource ready, so you paid nothing to get an extra number to your resource, being 1 resource higher than you were, but then you still have the same amount of resources you start with the turn with. So really nice leader, and like I said, it's not a very quick leader to deploy. It's more of a controlling leader, because you're going to have to hold off for quite a while so you can deploy him, but luckily in the dark side, there's a lot of good control cards, and in some of the aspects you can pair with them as well. And also do note that with this series, unlike everyone normally at this point, I would say that bear with some basic information for some newer players, but since this is a updated list, and we've gone through basic information already in the previous one when we did the original one of this, I'm going to say that if you this is more for more veteran players who want to kind of have a look more and delve into a little bit more than just the basic information and kind of like how to build it. So we're kind of going in with builds as well. So if you're more of a newer player and you want to have some help from basic information, help with our Palpatine, I recommend you go to the description below and click on the link to my previous video where we've gone over the leader in more of a basic sense, and watch that first. If you're more veteran, then basically just stay tuned and we'll see more updated, more like competitive focused content for this. Right, so the next parts we're going to go before we get onto some lists is looking at the bases, and there's not much really to go over this. It's going to be quick, and in the game there's rare bases and there are vanilla bases. Difference being that the rare bases have less health but an effect to go with it, whereas the common bases, like you see on screen, are all just 30 health with different aspects, name, location, stuff. And considering that you're a control leader and you deploy so late, none of those like lower health bases are really going to help you survive till you can deploy. So there's not really much point in going for those, and none of the effects really benefit Palpatine for what he wants to do either. Like you got some nice effects in like Tarkin Town and ECL, but the problem with that is that you're gonna like probably die having 25 health, a lot of the health before you get to Palpatine. So it might not be as useful, especially considering that even then you might not, if you don't see the ramp, you could have a harder time with that lower life total as well. So the bases you really want to use with Palpatine are the 30 health bases with no effects, and just pick one for your favorite arc. That's it for bases. Essentially, you just use the common bases because the rare ones aren't going to benefit you much. Next, we got the aspect combos. Like we said before in like the previous video as well, for like all the leaders, you also have a third aspect you'll get when you pair a base. Now, while you do get 4 different combinations, this part is normally going to go for what I feel are the best and more usable, playable combinations of each leader. And for Palpatine, luckily he's got quite a few. He's got 3 different aspect combinations because if you pair, we got the blue version of Palpatine, which can make for like a very hard control deck, which is probably a very, very nice one, which is a really good one to play, and probably one of the better ways to play a blue-green Villainy leader, which is cool. And then you got the double green. You've got some benefits in double green that has popped up and seen a lot of play, and it focuses more on the units than it does on events. You play a little bit less events than that, so a little bit less hard control, but still control, which is good. And you get some nice benefits of like having the max amount of ramp from this one. And then you got the yellow version, which didn't really pop up until the end of the set 1 meta game, because it wasn't really thought of it. It's thought best to go with the blue-green as a way to play Palpatine to get that like more focus on control because he is a control leader. But the other offers some nice benefits which go over it a bit, like taking control of your opponent's leaders and having some nice ways to kind of help stop since every leader is going to deploy before you, having a way to stop the leader from like doing much before you get to deploy yours. So these are what I reckon are the most actual playable combinations for this leader, for Palpatine. The red one you could go ahead and play, but there's not much benefits in that. You still get the ramp like all the aspects do, but there's not much in red that kind of wants to, like that. You can get some nice big units, but if you get some, like you got Crate Dragon, you got Emperor Palpatine in his unit form, but you haven't got the best in terms of like units to help you strive off to help get to Palpatine's deploy, and not much benefit when he does deploy from this either. Like you've got ways to ping damage to make sure something's damaged, sure, but you haven't got as much benefits like these want to do, especially for a control leader. So you might be asking like, why do an updated version when we got the original version of like understand how to build Palpatine? Well, this is more for like competitive players, and also do want to kind of see what the new set adds, because with each set we get new benefits to old leaders, and some old leaders, while at the beginning they might not have been great or not been in a good position or might have been really good. It's nice to see what kind of new additions they've got that kind of improved them to be maybe a little bit better than they were before. And there's quite a few things that are quite nice for Palpatine. Like you got the cards that are just in his aspects as well, like Poggle Lesser, Confederate Courier, and Droid Commando being very nice ones. So the first 2 being cards you can play as early as turn 1, and a nice ways to keep a unit on board to help you have something kind of the pop with Palpatine's effect to keep drawing and paying damage on units, and also just keep stuff there. Like Poggle is a nice one. Turn 1 doesn't do anything much on the first turn, but after the first turn, every time you play a unit, when he's on board, he rests himself to create a new battle droid token, which gives you a new unit on board to keep lots of units on board. So that way you've got more things to kind of kill off Palpatine's effect and ping damage. Same for Confederate Courier. It's a unit you can place on turn 1. It's not bulky, but it's got a little bit of power. But it's one that when it's defeated, he will create a battle droid token, keeping the unit on board for you. And you've got Droid Commando, which with the other 2 kind of has a nice focus to kind of help control, like deal with the early game to help you survive until you can deploy Palpatine. Because it's a 4-3 unit that costs 3, so the earliest you can play it's turn 2. And while you control Never Separatist unit, like these 2 original ones, the first 2, then you get to have it play it with Ambush, which is cool. So if you've got those 2 on the first turn, you can play out Droid Commando the turn after, Ambush something in the ground arena, and then basically like either with Poggle get a new token, or have then Confederate Courier safe, and also then be able to attack stuff. Then you got, if you go for the double green version, so if you go to green based Palpatine, you got Maz Amidala being a nice new addition to have on your first turn, because it's like Poggle, a lot of health at 4. You can play his turn 1, and just like with Poggle, it requires you to play a unit and to tap himself to kind of trigger. And what he does is keep that consistency, making sure you've got something to play every turn. Like just when you play another unit, you exhaust him, and then if you do, you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, and any unit among them, add it to your hand, and then put the rest of the and then draw it, and then basically put the rest of the bottom of your deck in a random order. The nice thing about that is that in the double green version of Palpatine, you're going to have more units than you have events, like a lot more units in events. So you're always going to see something in those top 4 cards, unless you're very unlucky. And this will keep it so you all something to play and keep finding it to find those useful units, either units you want to play, like you find the ramp, like Super Laser Technician, or units you want to play like turn after that current turn, or even your bigger units later on, so you can do some like devastating damage, which is quite nice. So very nice addition for the double green build. Then for the yellow build, you got some nice new additions, more for the main and side. You got Elite, P38 Starfire, and Cad Bane. These are very nice units because P Starfire is a nice one, especially is never one of those targets for Vader to help put more things on board. So like when you put Vader out to basically expand the board a little more than its actual cost, and basically just have more ways to kind of ping damage on things. So when Palpatine deploys, you can take control of something. So you can control what to ping, because when it's played or when defeated, you can deal 1 damage to a unit. And since it's a free cost Villainy unit, it comes up perfectly from Vader's effect. You can either use it to help Vader take out something it was just shy, because Vader's got 5 health, 5 power. So something's got 6 health, then Vader's going to be struggling a little bit to try and take it out. But if it's a piece Starfire, it can do the 5 ambush, do the 5 damage, play this out, and then ping the damage to kind of finish it off. Or use P Elite Starfighter to ping something that Vader isn't attacking that he's going to take out already, then do damage, then go, right, I'm going to take that when I deploy Palpatine kind of thing. And you got Cad Bane as well, being a nice kind of way to establish a unit on board and then kind of deal with all the wide board your opponent might have. Because when it comes down, it can capture up to 3 enemy units, non-leader units, that have a total of 8 or less health remaining on them in total together. So it means you can take out a lot of things, or just one big thing, or a few things depending on it. And whenever it attacks, the defending player can take back one of their cards. But if they do, you get to draw 2 cards, giving you more cards. And since the cards can come in rested, you don't really care about giving them a card. And you care, like, you're going to do a lot of damage, and also you've done the thing of holding them off for a turn by taking those cards. And if it's just the dark side, just on normal dark side cards, you've got Merciless Contest, being an additional version of Powered Dark Side, which is already in a free cost event like itself that forces your opponent to defeat one of your units. So they got to defeat one of your units. So this is kind of a extra addition with like a different effect slightly. In that it does still force your opponent to defeat a unit they control, but it's a non-leader unit, and it also forces both players to choose. So essentially, both players need to defeat one of their non-leader units and defeat them. But the nice thing about this, if your opponent has a non-leader unit and you don't, you can still use it. You just won't have anything to choose because you don't have anything. And you're not normally going to do it in the decks you have, like the blue version. So it's quite nice there. And even then, there might be sometimes when you want to defeat one of the units, like say a Super Laser Technician, force your opponent to defeat theirs, you defeat your Super Laser Technician. Now they've lost their unit, but you've lost yours, but technically you wanted that defeated because now it's ramped you up, increased your resources, which is really nice. So there's nice new additions from set 3. Next, you might be thinking, what does he bring already? So he's got these nice things from the set 3, but what does he bring already? Well, he's got all these nice cards in just his aspects that he provides. So you've got your heal trio being Salacious Crumb, Colonel Yularen, and Reinforcement Walker being, like, as I said, your heal trio. Because Yularen will heal a damage from your base every time you play a command unit, including himself. So when he plays himself out, he heals the damage. And every time you play any green unit out, you get the heal damage from your base. It's really nice, which makes it very nice when you come with when you put it down with Crumb, because Crumb also has an effect where when it's played, heals the damage from your base. So when you have Yularen on board and you play Crumb, you heal damage from Yularen and 1 damage from Crumb, and Crumb can keep bouncing himself back and playing himself out over and over again by using his action, which is allowing him to tap himself, return itself to his owner's hand, and deal 1 damage to a ground unit. So in every way with Palpatine, the ping damage on something to kind of make it so you can take control of it, and then put itself back in your hand so you can play it back out and keep doing the heal. And alongside that, as to complete the trio, you've got Reinforcement Walker being your big unit for when you eventually do get to our late game. Big 8 cost, has solid stats at 6-9, and then when it's played or when it attacks, it allows you to look at top card of your deck. You can either draw that and add it to your hand, or if you don't want it, you can discard it and heal 3 damage for your base, which is very, very nice. It adds more healing to it, especially when you play Reinforcement Walker with Yularen. You're then healing 4 damage whenever it's played, and then 3 more damage whenever Reinforcement Walker attacks. Actually, nice heal tree you get. Then you got your big bombs with Vader. You got Vader, Maul, and Devastator being very nice, being your big threats. Nice thing about Maul and Vader is they're both 7 costs with solid stats and both ambush, so they come down at the same turn they play, which is really cool to help take out so they can keep the momentum up. but they have slightly different effects after that, because they got slightly different stats where Maul can take out more things where Vader kind of survive a little bit easier, but then Maul's also got a nice effect where you can choose a Underworld unit and have that take damage yourself, so you can potentially survive and have something take out else by having something else take damage, so he's then fresh and not worried about being taken out quite quickly. Whereas Vader got slightly less power than Maul, but has a nice benefit in that he can expand the board more than its cost by looking at the top 10 cards of your deck, looking for any dark units with a combined cost of 3 or less and play them out for free. So you can either get one big free drop, a 2 and a 1, or 3 ones. It's really nice, like getting a Crumb out and a Bazine. It's pretty cool. And it just allows you to add more things to the board and more benefits, while also ambushing and just being great overall. Like be able to expand, like give you more, like potentially 10 cost of cards for 7, while also potentially taking out a unit from your opponent's board is very cool. And Devastator is like your big in-game that just comes down and secures the space arena for you. There's a whopping 10 cost, but with 10/10 to its stats, so huge. Also Sentinel, so your opponent has to go for this in the space arena before they can get to your base or other units. Has Overwhelm, so it can pierce for your opponent's units in that same arena. And when it's played, it deals damage equal to a unit equal to the resources you control, which is minimum 10 if you play hardcasting it. You can play it a little bit cheaper in some decks, but it'd be normally by 1 less, so up to 9, like minimum 9 damage, most of the time 10, or more potentially when it's played. So you can come down, you can have this come down, kill almost any unit, which is really cool. It doesn't have a shield or Captain Defoy destroyed by effects, well, by damage. And just basically control that arena, making it a clock on your opponent, because that's 10 damage. So 3 swings from this directly, that's game. And then you got your other units. So you got your small units, you got units you can play out by Vader, and also our night units. So you got your Ramp here in Super Limited Edition and Resupply, guaranteed to have with Palpatine no matter what combination you go for the base, because Super Laser Technician is they're both free cost ramp up cards, which both basically put themselves into play as a resource. Resupply does it instantly, whereas Super Laser Technician has to be defeated. But like I said, you can have a ramp into your opponent's unit, but if they don't have a unit in that same arena, being the ground arena, you can use Palpatine's effect to pop it. They not only draw a card, but force it the ramp as well, which is cool. Then you've got every units that are more Sentinels that you can also get out by Vader, which are nice, being Emperor's Royal Guard and Phase 3 Dark Trooper, both have a Sentinel. Well, the Emperor's Royal Guard need an official on board to have Sentinel, which can be Yularen that you've played potentially turn 1, or Palpatine when he's deployed, which is easy enough to do. But then while Palpatine's as your leader or base, or as your leader or deployed, he gains extra 1 health. Technically, he's a 3/5 in a Palpatine deck, no matter what. But in a Sentinel, if you control an official, very nice there, very good, especially Sentinel with his cost. Like that's the base stats or free cost nowadays. And you got the Phase 3 Dark Trooper, which is a free cost 3/3 Sentinel. It literally replaces Cell Block Guard, because it's got the exact same things as the Cell Block Guard, but it's got the green aspects, it's got anti aspects, so it kind of pairs a little bit better, and also has especially with the alarm, and also then has an extra benefit of whenever it's dealt damage but survives that attack, it gains an experience. So if it takes out something or something rams into it, it doesn't die, it gets stronger, which is very, very nice. Makes it then harder and harder to take down. And you got one of the best cards in the game being Overwhelm Barrage, being a very nice card that just boosts up any unit by 2/2 to the stats, extra 2 power and 2 health, then allows that unit that's been boosted to then deal its power as damage have you choose on board, which is amazing, especially putting on so you can get a Devastator out next turn, you Overwhelm Barrage it. That's 12, he's a 12/12 now, so it's going to hit harder. Then you get to do 12 damage, however you like, across the opponent's board, or you're not going to do it to your own board, but across the board, however you choose, just 12 damage, however you like, which is amazing. And that's what he brings. So he brings a lot of good stuff. And now let's have a look and see kind of what we've got for each build, because I've got lists for unlike with every one where we don't do lists. For this one, since it's updated, we've gone over the basic information, kind of like what you can expect for it. We're now going to update it with some lists as well to give you some examples to help you out if you want to play this amazing leader. So we're going to start off with the Vigilance one. So the Vigilance build, you're mainly going to have a base, and I've just got an example of a base you would have, being a 30 health base. You wouldn't have one of the rare bases, you have the vanilla bases. So your max amount of health, and I really like the Bogada. Yeah, Dagobah Swamp art. But you got some really nice things in this, so you got some really cool things. You got the early turns, and with the units being like the client and Charlton, being able to come down and help you defend and help you survive in the early game, because the client has a nice thing where he comes in shielded, pretty solid stats, and also has a nice effect where you can tap him and choose a unit, and for this phase it gains the bounty, allowing you to heal 5 health in your base whenever it's defeated. And you'll give this to your opponent's unit, then defeat that opponent's unit, and then heal 5 in your base, keeping your base nice and healthy so you can survive until you really deploy Palpatine. Then you got Charlton being a nice defender in the space on the ground arena, and as long as you're playing holding enough blue cards, you can boost him up. So normally he's a 4-cost 2/2, which isn't amazing, but he has Sentinel, and when he's played, you can reveal up to 4 blue cards from your hand, and for each card you reveal, you gain an experience token on him. Since you can do a maximum of 4, you can potentially make this guy, if you reveal 4 blue cards from your hand when you play him, you can make him a 6/6 Sentinel, which is huge, and that's going to be a big way to defend your ground arena and your base from enemy attacks. And when you get into the higher points in the game, like the higher points of resources, you've then got the bigger units like Supreme Leader Snoke and Avenger being nice units for the Vigilance side. Snoke being a good one where it makes all your opponent's units that aren't leaders gain -2/2 to the stats, so -2 power and 2 health, and which anything that's got lower health than 2 or 2 or lower health, it's basically defeated. Anything higher gets weakened, so it's then already as a 6/6, he's hard to take out, but when your opponent's stats are minus as well, it's going to be even harder to take him out. And then you've got Avenger as well, being one of the big space units you can put alongside Devastator. And this is nice because when it's played, when it attacks, it allows you to force your opponent, then to defeat any of the non-leader units they control. And the problem with this is, if they've got the bigger the board they have, the less effective this is. But the smaller the board is, the more devastating it is because they've got less things on board. Like say you got one thing on board that's not a leader. You play this down, they have to defeat that one unit you've got on board. But if they've got 5 units on board, they have to defeat one of their units, and they can always choose the weakest one they didn't really care about, or something that's going to be triggered. Well, let's trigger when it's defeated. And then you've got the events here. Like you've got lots of removal. You've got Power and Dark Side being a nice one, having the same effect as Avenger in a sort of way, where it forces your opponent to choose one of the units they control to defeat it. Now it's the same as Avenger, but this can also hit leaders, but it's a one-time use for Avengers. As long as on the board, whenever it's played or attacked, it triggers. Where this is just one-time use because of an event, but can potentially kill leaders. So if your opponent deploys a leader with nothing else on board, you can potentially use this and make them kill it, and they don't get much use out of it. And then you also get Takedown and Fellow Dragon being nice removal events. Takedown get taking out some of those smaller units at 5 or less health, whereas Fellow Dragon takes out one of those bigger units at 5 or more power. Nice little differences there. Same cost, but nice differences. And a Super Laser Blast being a way to kind of reset the board by just killing everything on board, even your stuff, but allowing you to just basically wipe the board. It's nice. Because you can potentially, if your opponent's got a white board, you can wipe it out, and then they basically play something out, that potentially deploy Palpatine, or potentially, do basically just their next turn take initiative, and then just go ahead and wipe the board again, or then set up a bit easier. Like say from an adventure when we've got one unit on board, so you have to defeat it, and then you're back in control. And to go with this, we've got a nice little list here. We got the should do a shout to Howie, the guy who's come second at both the OP Manchester event, I think it was. Yeah, I think he came second at the OP Manchester event and the OP Birmingham event as well. Came second in both with the Palpatine decks. He's a hardcore Palpatine player, focused on the blue version, and it's done amazingly. And this is his list from the most recent event, and a good example of how to really play. Because you got a lot more units that you would normally have, a lot of units, but then serving a purpose. Where like From and Yolana's health. Inferno 4 is a nice turn 1 play, so you're not basically just doing nothing for your first turn. And then for nice units like Sentinels in terms of like Black Star Starfighter, Empress or Legion, you got your ramp and healing in the Client and Super Laser Technician. You got your later game units like Vader, which can then get any of these earlier units out, as well as come down in an ambush. Snoke to control, Reinforcement Walker to heal, and then your 2 big space units come out with 1 Devastator and 2 Avenger. And you've got some nice useful upgrades as well to help deal with the early game, with like Perilous Position, being able to come down and rest the unit it's equipped to, and give it minus stats, which is really nice. Potentially take out anything that's 2 or less health, and just make it so they can't attack with that unit, and also it's minus on stats, so it's a little bit weaker as well. Or even just Traitorous to take one of your opponent's 3 cost or less units, to just basically take control of it, and then have it for your own, so it's now yours. Then you've got the removal and ramp, like Power Dark Side and your extra ramp in Resupply. You've got Vigilance as well to give you some nice options, potentially go for the mill game against the mirror control. And then your removal events in Takedown, Fellow Dragon, Rivals Fall, and Super Laser Blast, giving like going down as they go on the higher cost set Super Laser Technician, Super Laser Blast, because it wipes out everything. So that's a good example of Vigilance. I will link to the list down below as well if you just want to go ahead and just grab it and try it out. But that's a good example for Vigilance. Next, we've got the Double Command. So Double Command being another way to play it and being a very nice one. And the kind of benefits it gets is you still want some of the same benefits you gave everyone, but now it's more focused on the just command. Because remember, you partner with losing access to a whole other aspect to have access to the double command units. But luckily with the third set, there's a lot more units to play. And the main benefits you get from double command are like Maz Amedea. I think Maz Amedea. I think it's called. I think that's how you pronounce it. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he allows you to, if you put this out turn 1, every turn after, like say you play a Super Laser Technician, you can then look at the top 4 cards, grab another unit among them, add to your hands. You can cover if you go Maz Amedea and then turn 2 Super Laser Technician. Maz Amedea can eventually find you never Super Laser Technician, so you can then go ahead and play the second one the turn after as Maz Amedea is still there, to then search for another unit, maybe not another Super Laser Technician, but something bigger, and then potentially have that extra resource to kill off one of them, ramp, and then start ramping quickly and keeping consistency of having units, maybe find a Vader where you can drop Vader, which is cool. And you got also Enterprise and Lackeys is a nice unit to come down that you can also resource and make sure you've always got a unit to play, because you can smuggle it out for 6 as long as you double blue. 5/5 unit, but then if it's ever defeated, you can then kill off one of your resources to then put it in as a resource, so you can keep it always. So you always got a unit to play no matter what, which is nice. And then you got command being your third option, the ramp, and one of the other ramp options you've got for set 1, because double green gives you the maximum amount of ramp. And not only does it give you the ramp, it also gives you 3 other options. So you can choose the ramp one, which you normally always going to choose, and then one of the 3 other options, which is either give 2 experience to a unit, which can buff something up, which is cool. You can have a friendly unit deal damage equal to its power to another non-unique enemy unit, which doesn't go off that much, because most of the time when you've got units on play, they're normally unique. A lot of them are unique. It's not often you've got non-unique units, but it can be an option. And then the other unit, that's not the other effect, it's not just ramping, is return any unit from your discard pile to your hand. So if you've lost your only Devastator, you can grab that back to your hand and be able to use it again, which is cool. So like ramping and getting that unit back. Or if you say you've lost a unit you want to kind of get back, like you've used up a Vader, you can use this to ramp and get that Vader back as well, which is cool. And not only that, you got all the other good stuff, like you've got like Crumb, Super Laser Technician, Vader, Walker, and Overwhelming Barrage. This cards you also get from Palpatine. And then for the list for Palpatine, for a double green, we've got this, which is also taken from an event. I can't remember what the event was. I don't know the name of the player, but this is the list you can probably go for and try out for double green. Now you have, like I said, all the green stuff, but you got a lot more. Like I said, you got a lot more units than you have events, because you're going to focus on trying to help deal with the earlier game when you got against aggro, where you've got like Sentinels, like Gamorrean Guards, Emperor's Royal Guard, and you've got Phase 3 Dark Trooper. You also got ways to boost those Sentinels as well with like Q-Yang, and then you've got loads of Sentinels you can play, Separatists you can play on the first turn, so you can then use the Droid Commander to kind of like ambush and deal with their units, and even for space as well, and even then Blacks and Starfire as a Sentinel for space. Then when you get into your bigger units, you've got Vader and Maul as good units to come and ambush down. You've even got then Reinforcement Walkers, another good ground unit. You've got your space units in Devastator and the Artiquin's Assault Cruiser, because that's also a card that can ambush, and then when you deploy, it ambushes in space though. But when it comes down, it's actually unit and defeats that non-leader unit in space. You can then go ahead and put the defeated unit in as a resource in play under your control. So you can kind of ramp one of their units you take out with this under your control. So you can then come out, ambush, take out the unit, and ramp up to your add to your resource, which is really, really cool. And with the events, you're only playing the Overwhelming Barrage command and so resupply, so playing a maximum ramp in 3 Super Laser Technician. Only 1 resupply, because it's not as useful as that. You want to keep units so you get as there, and it's never ramp, but at least with Super Laser Technician, you put a unit on board you can pop with Palpatine, and command is ramping plus something else beneficial as well with that as well. So you got more benefits than that, but you also got then command as they with ramp. That's kind of a lot more better than just ramping like super resupply. And you also got Merciless Contest as well, which is a way to kind of sack off one of your units and kill off one of yours. And since you've got things like Poggle giving you tokens that token units which you don't really care about, or Super Laser Technician coming out being something you can then kill off, or even then the Confederate Courier being a unit that you can then kill off yourself and then get a unit back, which is quite nice to make use of that. Even if you've got units on board, you're not killing off anything important, you're just killing off your weakest ones, while you're forcing your opponent to use a unit they might not want to use. So that's a more good version of command, like with the Vigilance one we got down in the description below if you want to go and have a look at it. And then we have Cunning. So like I said, Cunning is the version of Palp that kind of came about at the end of set 1, because there's nice cards like we've got here. We've got from set 1 we had like No Good to Be Dead, be a nice way, because like I said, Palpatine deploy so late, probably the latest deploy in the game. And mostly every leader is going to deploy before Palpatine does. Unless you ramp, then you can potentially deploy at the same turn or a little bit earlier than you would normally. But most of the time, every leader is going to deploy before you do. But you got, luckily, No Good to Be Dead as a way to kind of exhaust a unit and keep it tapped down, because how it works. When you untap everything, like draw and resource, that's all done at the end of your turn. Then you move on to the next turn. So with how that works, you exhaust the unit, and it can't ready that phase. Well, ready that round. So at the end of the turn, when you withdraw, untap, and resource, that your opponent can't untap that card. So then it's rested, ready for the next turn. So it's then rested, so you can't use it for second turn either, unless they got a way to restand it. So it's a nice card to kind of just, when your opponent deploys leader, you go nap, tap down, keep down. You can't use your leader until I can use mine, kind of thing, which is really nice. Then you got some nice benefits as well, like you had Sneak Attack, Wailing, Change of Heart being nice cards, like Sneak Attack allowing you to play a unit a little bit less costing at 1 cost less, but it will be at the end turn. But it doesn't matter if you can attack with it, and if you kill it off with your leader before it dies at the end of the turn, then it doesn't matter, it's going to die at the end of the turn because you're killing off your leader to make use of it, drawing to a card, and doing a damage to something as well. Wailing be a nice way to just put something back, so you can't play something big that you can't really do anything with until the next turn. Put it back in hand so you waste their turn, and Change of Heart line you to basically just take one of your opponent's units, use it, then kill it off before getting it back, thanks to Palpatine's effect. And with more recent sets, we've got some other units, like we had 7th Fleet Defender as a 1 for turn from the first set that you can play out from Vader, but now you've got P38 Starfighter that you can play out instead, which it's got the same stats but doesn't get shield, but it does have a nice way to kind of mesh more with Palpatine in doing damage to a unit, so you've got something that you can potentially take control of once you deploy Palp. You've got Villainy as well, which is a very nice card. Never card you can play turn 1. It's the benefit of looking at your opponent's hand and disrupting him. By playing out, only costs a 2. Look at your opponent's hand, rip any card out of it that you want, but then if you do, they get to draw a new card. So if they've got nothing you want to rip out, you can leave it there. But if you've got something you want to rip out and they get a new card. And it's a way to stop them from playing something on turn 1, stop them from using a card they would normally want to keep. And it's a nice benefit there, and you can also smuggle out as well. It's a nice benefit. You can always resource and smuggle out later. And also along with it is a unit that you can then pop off for Palpatine and then draw a card and ping some damage or something too. Then you got Cad Bane. This is more used as a side event card. Side deck card, but it's a nice way to kind of help clear out the board, grab a load of cards, and then basically just slowly give them back if they want to give you 2 cards. They don't have to if they don't want to, and just manage the early units to come out in the early game, so you can deploy Palp and then start taking control. An example we've also got is Josh and Freeman Birch, who came first at the Manchester event, but then he wasn't with this deck, but then came top 4 from the Birmingham event in the UK. And while his list is for 54, he did advise that you can go ahead and reduce it down to 50 if you're more comfortable with 50 cards and don't want to play 54. You can always reduce this by taking out Cloud Rider and Cobb Vamp to make it a good 50. And we've seen this basically put into came in 4th with his with the deck. So you can see it's basically shown that it can do well, and it is very good. And it's got some nice benefits that you don't play too many yellow cards. You play enough, like almost probably half, but you make like good use of all the cards that you've got. So you've got things like your turn 1 plays like Crumb, well, not necessarily Crumb, but Poggle, Yularen, and Kari, and Bazine to basically have something on the first turn, unless you want Cloud Rider to ambush, so you go in second. And the way to kind of keep something on board that's usually useful, either look at your opponent's hand with Bazine, something that's going to stick on board with Courier, or Poggle that's saying good enough for every turn after, keep having these little units on board that you can use with Palpatine's effect to kill off your important units, and then gain you more cards and more advantage. Well, then your Lion's going to heal. Then you got your turns after, you got like cards that are going to stick on board and do something useful, like the Super Laser Nation ramping you, Emperor's Royal card being a Sentinel, Cobb Vamp being a way to can be unit on board, and P38 being a way to kind of ping damage for it. And you got more than your usual kind of ambush, but then you got Bosk as well as Vader and Maul to kind of just ambush, and Bosk makes use of if you do any use any events, which you've got a fair few of, you get some benefit of more ping damage. And this Bosk with an Overrun Barrage can do more damage normal, because while you can boost up something with Barrage, Bosk also can do 2 damage, or you can choose the order of when you're going to do the damage of Bosk or of 1 barrage. You can ping in the damage and do 2 more than you would normally do, which is cool. You've got the big units as well. And just for Space Devastation, you don't need much more than that, because space isn't going to be too much of an issue except those space focus tests, but you can still manage as well. Fair enough with the cards at your disposal here. especially with like Barrage to help deal with them as well, and have Reinforcement Walker's way to heal, and nice events like You're Not Gonna Be Dead to lock things down, Sneak Attack to play out things quicker, especially if you can potentially use this to play out a Super Laser Technician turn 1 to get that ramp so you're going to 4 resources on your second turn, and then you've got Resuppliers, extra ramp, Waylay's way to just nice like kind of way to reverse your slot opponent from really doing much by making waste turn, bouncing that guy back to hand. And then you got Overwhelm Barrage and Change of Heart being very nice, useful cards. Change of Heart being like probably the main reason to play this deck by allowing you to sit with your opponent's units, use it however you like, and then basically use Palpatine to sack it off so you can get it back and you've gained a card. And you basically remove something from the board, gain the card, did damage to something, and also basically just like advance the game state a lot easier, which is cool. So that is the Cunning list. And like I had in the beginning, or from the recent set for the set 3 ones, I've also put in my preferred combo. And the one way I prefer, there's normally always one way I prefer to play a leader, and my absolute favorite way to play Palpatine is the yellow version, because I just think you got good control of it with blue, but there are other decks I prefer to play hard control with than Palpatine. And for double green, I do like the look of it. I have tried it out, and it's just not. Feel it just doesn't have as much as the other one. So my preferred aspect would be for yellow, because I played this back at the end of set 1. So I remember seeing about it and trying it out, and I absolutely loved it. And it's just my absolutely preferred way. I even took it to the back in set 2 for the Cardiff Planetary Qualifier, and I'm making 14th and top 16 with it, which is not too bad, even though like I went for a load of boba. But I had a lot more fun playing it this way rather than the other ways. So that is the video. Hopefully this helped you have a better understanding with an update for Palpatine as a set 3, and also enjoyed the list. I know a lot of people want lists for this, even though they don't understand how to build. We're not just giving out lists, helping them understand build, but it's been a more advanced and updated version where we've already gone over the basics and how to build it in that video. We've got more an updated one where I'll actually give out lists for this one. So if you like this kind of content, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you up in the next one where we go over another updated one soon. Bye for now.
Like a boss.